Hello everyone, how are you today? I'm Suzane Silveira and I'm your English teacher. Let's begin our class. Na aula passada, nós estudamos sobre profissões que atuam na escola. Hoje, nós vamos falar de profissionais que também são muito importantes. Então, pegue lápis, caderno e caneta. Let's go! Let's pay attention to the picture. So, students, pay attention. What is it? It's an ad, it's a poster, it's a comic book page. What's the answer? It's a comic book page. Very good. Now, what is it about? It's about a day at school. It's about how to protect from COVID-19. It's about how to protect from dengue. What's the answer? It's about how to protect from COVID-19. Very good. How do you know it? Como você sabe que isso é uma página de história em quadrinhos? We have some characteristics that show it is a comic book page. Let's see. We have speech balloons and dialogues. We have characters. It is divided in squares. And we have non-verbal language. Você sabia que linguagem não verbal é toda linguagem que não utiliza palavras? Por exemplo, na história, nós podemos identificar a situação pelo desenho das mãos ao lado do título, pela expressão das personagens, pelo uso das roupas e também pelos gestos. Now, let's take a look at the comic book page again. Okay, students, pay attention. Wash your hands. Hi, I'm Daniel. What do you do? Hi, Daniel. I'm Sandra, and I'm a nurse. Hi, I'm Daniel. What do you do? Hi, Daniel. I'm Marcus, and I'm a doctor. How can I protect myself from COVID-19? Wash your hands. Now it's up to you. Let's take a look at the picture. What's his occupation? He's a teacher. He's a cook. He's a doctor. What's the answer? He's a doctor. That's it. Very good. Now, pay attention. What's her occupation? She's a nurse. She's an actress. She's a secretary. What's the answer? Yes, that's it. She's a nurse. Very good. Now, pay attention to the question. How can Daniel protect himself from COVID-19? Washing his hands, going to the park, playing outside. What's the answer? Washing his hands. Well done. Now let's pay attention to Sandra and Marcus again. They work at a school, at a hospital, at a restaurant. What's the answer? At a hospital. Very good. Enfermeiros e médicos são os profissionais que cuidam dos pacientes no hospital, dando os remédios, a alimentação e todo o apoio necessário. Outros profissionais, no período da pandemia, também são muito importantes para a sociedade. Let's take a look. Now, pay attention. What's her occupation? She's a scientist. What's his occupation? He's a cleaner. Now, students, pay attention. What does she do? She's a scientist. What does he do? He's a cleaner. What does she do? What does he do? What do you use these questions for? To ask about a person's age or to ask about a person's occupation. What's the answer? To ask about a person's occupation. Well done. Now, let's talk about Sandra and Marcus again. What do? They are education workers. They are health workers. Yes, they are health workers. Trabalhadores da saúde. Health workers. Now look. What does she do? She's a scientist. What does he do? He's a cleaner. What do? They are health workers. Pay attention, guys, to the question. When we have he and she in the question, we use do or does. Does. Very good. That's it. That's correct. Now, let's go to the second question. When we have they in the question, we use do or does. Do. Well done. Now, let's practice. He's a postman. What is the question? What does he do? Now, let's go to the second image. They're police officers. What is the question? What do they do? Now, it's up to you. She's an elderly caregiver, uma cuidadora de idosos. What's the question? What does she do? Very good. Let's practice more. She's a psychologist. What's the question? What does she do? Very good. Let's go to the second image. He's a bus driver. What's the question? What does he do? Now let's go to the third image. They are delivery men. What is the question? What do they do? Well done! Now let's go to the comic book page again. Now students, let's take a look at the first part of the story. Hi, I'm Daniel. What do you do? Hi, Daniel. I'm Sandra, and I'm a nurse. Hi, I'm Daniel. What do you do? Hi, Daniel. I'm Marcus, and I'm a doctor. Daniel asks Sandra's and Marcus' occupations. What is the question? That's it. What do you do? Excellent. Well done. Now let's continue. Pay attention to these professionals. She's a scientist. She works at a laboratory. He's a teacher. He works at a school. They are health workers. They work at a hospital. Now, let's see once more. Where does she work? She works at a laboratory. Where does he work? He works at a school. Where do they work? They work at a hospital. Now, students, pay attention. Where does she work? She works at a laboratory. Where do they work? They work at a hospital. Where does he work? He works at a school. Where does she work? Where do they work? Where does he work? what do we use these questions for? To ask about a person's occupation or to ask about a person's workplace. Local de trabalho. Workplace. What is the answer? To ask about a person's workplace. Can you identify the workplace of these professionals? Pay attention. Where do they work? He's a doorman. He works at a fire station, at a building, or at a restaurant. What's the answer? He works at a building. Very good. Now let's go to the second professional. She's a cook. She works at a fire station or at a restaurant. She works at a restaurant. Very good. Now, let's go to the third image. They are firefighters. They work at a fire station. Very good. Well done. Great job, everybody. Now, let's practice a little bit more. Look, a question. Pay attention to the answer. He's a doorman. I'm talking about his occupation. So, what's the question? What does he do? Very good. Look, another question. What's the answer? Pay attention. He works at a building. I'm talking about his workplace. So, what's the question? Where does he work? That's it. Now, it's up to you. Look, another question. Pay attention to the answer. She's a cook. I'm talking about her occupation. So, what's the question? What does she do? Very good. Now, look, another question. Pay attention to the answer. She works at a restaurant. I'm talking about her workplace. So, what's the question? Where does she work? Very good. Now let's go to the third image. Look, another question. Pay attention to the answer. They are firefighters. I'm talking about their occupation. What's the question? What do they do? Well done. Look, another question. Pay attention to the answer. They work at a fire station. So, what's the question? Where do they work? Well done. Como nós vimos, todas as profissões são importantes para a manutenção da sociedade, ainda mais no período da pandemia. Então, de que forma nós podemos apoiar e valorizar os profissionais que cuidam da população, como os médicos, os enfermeiros, os profissionais da saúde, os professores e tantas outras profissões? Let's think about it. Agora, vocês já sabem, perguntar e responder sobre profissões, perguntar e responder sobre locais de trabalho. Wow, we have learned so much today. Thank you for your attention. See you next class. Bye bye.